Another day, another big disappointment from the internet. What else do we expect? I apologize if you hear a fan in the background, but it's just like extremely hot. There's a heat wave right now, so I just can't be bothered to turn it off. So I just wasn't even gonna make a video about this, but I saw the headline and I knew the internet's reaction would be bad immediately as soon as I saw it. So yesterday it was revealed, SZA, she's an R&B singer. She's pretty popular. I would say she's pretty mainstream, especially after her, what was the second album? Especially after SOS. And she was at was that last year? She was at the halftime show with Kendrick Lamar too. So anyways, so SZA, her real name is Solana Rowe. She posted on her finsta that she has been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and I just knew the internet was gonna react poorly because first of all, the internet hates women, and then also the internet hates autistic women as well, so, which there's just absolutely no representation of. And then when women speak up, they're silenced because, of course. And I don't know a lot about her personally. I do know that joke about how she comments on everything. My favorite album was Control, and I didn't like SOS that much, so I haven't really been following her. I was very, very much into her in like 2017. But it came as no shock to me at all. Autism, she already has ADHD, and I believe she also has bipolar. And a lot of those disorders, unfortunately, are very comorbid. I don't know what the percentage is, but I think you are highly, highly, highly much more likely to either have autism or have ADHD if you've been diagnosed with one of those disorders. It's extremely likely that you will have the other one. Alright, so let's just read what she posted on her Finsta. So the document, she posted a document, and it says Solana Rowe is, and it's covered with something woman who presents with a history patterning of scores and behaviors on examination that are quite consistent with autism spectrum disorder. Solana has qualitative impairment in reciprocal social interaction as both self-reported and observed by this examiner. Her mother also noted these traits when Solana was a child, although they were not evident. Solana also has marked sensory defensiveness. She is sensitive to the feel of clothing, sound, taste, and touch. She has developed numerous admirable coping strategies for passing when in social situations. This takes an enormous amount of energy for her and leaves her feeling quite anxious. Cognitively, Solana is functioning in the superior range in fluid reasoning. She is also in the gifted range linguistically. She's a quite articulate woman. She has more inconsistency in her ability to engage in social perception, both on standardized tests and based on her self-report. Solana is experiencing a severe degree of anxiety overall. She is quite aware of this and endorsed this on standardized scales. At the same time, Solana has made remarkable advances in her career and is an extremely creative woman. She has many personal gifts. Okay, and then the caption, she said, finally took the time and got formally diagnosed Asperger's, she spelled wrong, high-functioning autism, smarter than you. So stop playing in my face, because pattern recognition told me, and I will get to the bottom of it, thanks. Pretty sure this is why I'm taking AI so personally, BTW, LOL, and also why I'm in every comment section. That's so true. That's so real. Yeah, so... Okay, so people are like questioning the legitimacy of this document, and I'm gonna get into, I have some comments from Reddit and also from Instagram. And I'll get into why it's not worth questioning this document. But it just frustrates me, like, why is the first instinct that people have is to doubt her? I guess because she's lied a lot in the past, but I don't really know what incentive you would have to lie about this. If anything, it wouldn't be good for her career. It could be a potential negative, because autism in women is still extremely misunderstood. Okay, so the first comment that I found on Reddit, and this is not even, I mean, I don't know if SZA has a snark Reddit. I assume she probably does, because she's not that well liked in pop culture. But this is just pop culture chat. This is not like a negative Reddit towards SZA. And somebody said, is anyone else getting Trump's doctor's report energy out of this? Or am I just being overly cynical? It's not the autism diagnosis, it's the phrasing and language in other parts, like mentioning her remarkable career achievements and the tremendous amount of energy. Well, first of all, Trump would say bigly, he wouldn't say tremendous. It takes for her to socialize, and her many personal gifts. Maybe my doctors just think I ain't shit, haha, but it's just a little odd to be so overly complimentary on an official document, like, wow, can you believe what a superwoman she is? Okay, well, I think there's two reasons for this. I would like to think with the advancement in, like, how autism is perceived, and it's still not good today, but when I was diagnosed, it was in middle school, so it was 2013, I was 13 years old, and they just wrote in the report, like, they're supposed to have a foreword, and in the foreword, they just wrote about how, like, I was so weird and, like, didn't have any friends and was obsessed with Les Mis, so, like, I think now they're trained, the psychologists are trained to be a little more, like, focusing on the positives and negatives, not just the negatives. And then second, she's, like, an extremely wealthy celebrity, so why would you, in a document, if you're being paid by this, like, rich and famous celebrity, you would not be like, oh, she's just the worst, like, we don't like, you know, like, you're gonna gas her up a little bit, and I think that's just natural, you know, based on people wanting to further themselves or further their career, or, like, just look good in the eyes of a celebrity. They're not gonna be like, oh, Solana is so awkward and weird, nobody likes her, like. This person said, personally, I think she's full of shit, and that document looks fishy. This isn't the first time she's posted a random diagnosis. And it was funny that somebody was like, what looks fishy about it? And that original commenter just never responded about what looks fishy. And so this person said, SZA is a pathological liar. She's been roasted and caught multiple times lying. This is just another lie. So I don't know the drama. I don't know the tea. Like, if the tea is really bad, just tell me in the comments, because I don't really follow her that much, but from what I saw is she lied about not having a TV as a kid. Apparently she got really clowned on for that. But, like, from a PR standpoint, I could see why, like, if her, I assume, like, she was born in Missouri, so I assume, like, her PR is probably to say that she came from, like, the small town and, like, she was very poor, so I could see where lying about not having a TV would fit into that PR, but, like, lying about an autism diagnosis, again, it's frustrating when the internet is like, oh, just everybody wants to be autistic today, because really, what is the benefit in revealing that? There isn't one. Like, how many celebrities that we know are autistic just don't say anything, or they just talk about their ADHD, because ADHD is so much less stigmatized than autism is. I just don't really see a benefit in lying about this. And then somebody said, what's the correlation between autism and insistently commenting on social media? And that's funny. I definitely think, and like other people are saying that too, I'm not as bad as SZA. She's very chronically online. But I think it's easier to unmask when you're online, and it's easier to like make social connections, because there's not that pressure of like masking and like making sure you're making eye contact and like reading their facial expressions. And it's, you can find more like you're allowed to talk more about your special interests online, because you can find like communities where people are interested in those things. And then there's this one where they were like, it's not a diagnosis, it's an online test, lol, which the majority of people would test positive for autism on, lol. And somebody said, link, and they said online tests are just not a good gauge of autism or any condition. And they said, I agree, but I was just asking for the link, lol. And I said, IDK, which test this is? Then why did you proudly state it's an online test? Like, people just be yapping just to say shit. Like, it's so annoying. Like, the internet has become so annoying. Like, people just say shit just to say shit. And then another person's questioning the wording, said it sounds like a quack doctor. I don't know why. It's written like reports I've seen before. I don't know. And then this person says, if we all have autism, aren't we just normal? And here's the thing. I don't know. I don't think this is a controversial opinion, but I believe that a lot of celebrities do have autism, especially like directors, artists, singers, maybe not as much actors, but you kind of need that wiring in your brain to be successful, because a lot of neurotypical people don't have that drive where they're going to be like, I'm going to keep making the thing. Like, they'll publicize a video, gets 200 views, and they'll be like, ugh, okay, like, I can't. But like, the thing about ADHD and autism as well is like, you're hyper focused on this thing that you're interested in. So it's like, no matter what, if you're going to be successful or not, you're going to continue, in SZA's case, making music. And so my opinion is that there are a lot of celebrities that are autistic, and they're just not open about it, whether that being, like age. I think a lot of famous directors are autistic, but if they're getting up there in age, their generation might not be so aware, or the fact that it's so stigmatized, and people have an idea in their head of what it should look like, that they just don't mention it. But I'm glad that SZA came forward, because it's just showing people that it's not what they show on Love on the Spectrum or whatever, that BS. And like, I'm not trying to hate on that show. Like, you can watch it if you want, but I really do think they should probably disclose or have a disclaimer that, autism is comorbid with other things like learning disabilities and Down syndrome, and there's levels of support needs, and there's basically no high masking people on that show at all. So, and I think it's because it's not wholesome, it's messy, especially with women. And I don't know, if I have the time, I'd like to dive into why Hollywood and the audience respects and admires men with ADHD so much, and just detests women with ADHD, like the whole Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears thing. Because women with ADHD, it can be messy, it can manifest as being messy and emotional, and people don't like to see that. It's not easily digestible. Like some goofball stoner kind of thing that an ADHD man would have. And I thought this funny too, because supposedly neurotypical people are better at picking up social cues. Well, they are in some sense, because it wouldn't be in the DSM if it wasn't. But I just thought it was funny that people were like, stop stop referring to autism as the genius disease. And then someone was like, oh, she's saying she's smarter than you. And like, she's clearly being tongue-in-cheek. Like, she's trying to be funny. I don't know why people are taking it seriously. Alright, and then these are some comments from Instagram. And this person said, so everybody on the spectrum now, can't wait for this trend to be over. And I got 900 likes, which is crazy. And liked by the author. And no, it's not everybody. But what I think, again, is you need that type of brain to be successful in a creative space. So it's like we're already, like, unproportionally looking at 1% of the population, like the rich celebrities. And then already in there, it's going to have a higher amount of autistic individuals just because of the nature of, like what they're doing. It's essentially freelancing on a big scale. And this one, I just these doctors will tell you anything nowadays. I'm sure the pharmaceutical companies had the answer for the cure. Someone said, whatever this means. It means that, of course, they'll diagnose her with autism. The industry is about to make plenty of money off of a rich celebrity purchasing the meds. What meds? Yeah, so there are no medications to take for autism. So that person just needs to go back to drinking unpasteurized milk. Okay, so then this person, oh my god, this person said I'd be on the spectrum too if I paid for a BBL. So they're just insulting her body. Okay, and like there's plenty of neurotypical celebrities that gets tons of plastic surgery. I would argue more, probably, because what I've kind of divided into two, sort of, like, I can kind of tell when a celebrity is neurotypical versus when they're neurodivergent, because neurotypical celebrities are usually very, very good at PR. They're very good at interviews. They're very good at talking to people. They're good at separating their home life and their work life, and, like, not talking about their partners personally on social media or interviews or anything like that. And it's unfortunately, neurodivergent celebrities are, they're yappers. They're not often people, they overshare. It's part of the nature of being neurodivergent. So it's hard because you're like this amazing musician, this amazing actor, but it's just when it comes to PR, it's hard. And I relate to that too, because I can't be anything other than genuine. So it's hard for me to think about how some people can sort of put on this persona. Not even celebrities, just in life. So it's frustrating. They're making fun of her body and, like, her sharing plastic surgery, and, like, a lot of celebrities will lie about it. So but yeah, so I'm disappointed immeasurably, and my day is ruined.